All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is day 9 of our GMP Live feature, chatting about good manufacturing practices. And today we are going to discuss a little bit further on the sanitation program that's required as part of your good manufacturing practices. So we talked the other day about personnel and having a health and hygiene program as part of your overall sanitation program. Today we're going to talk about premises and what the facility expectations are for your sanitation program. So, first of all, a written sanitation program informs employees, contractors, anybody working on or within your site of what the expectation is and what the necessary steps are to ensure that sanitation is maintained and that cleanliness is exercised. So, in order to meet these requirements of a sanitation program, you need to develop a sanitation program that is adequate to prevent contamination of product, which we've discussed before. There's lots of ways that could be impacted by your sanitation program. Just a small example, not having open product around while cleaning is happening. So let's say somebody is sweeping and you're making product. That dust from the sweeping can potentially contaminate your product. So there has to be a schedule for when you're allowed to sweep, basically, as opposed to when you're making product. Secondly, is develop a written sanitation program that includes the following elements. So you need to go over your cleaning procedures at the facility and what that looks like. And you need to go over your cleaning procedures for processing equipment. So what does that look? Are you cleaning it with alcohol? Are you sanitizing it? Are you just soap and water washing it? What is your cleaning protocol for each piece of equipment, as well as for your premises specifically? You also need to have a list of cleaning and sanitizing agents that you use. Pesticide chemicals shall be identified as one of the things that it says. I'm not sure how many of us use anything that's pesticidal. I know I don't have that, so it's not included in my sanitation program, but if I did, I would need to draw out those chemicals and explain in depth what each of those chemicals were. And then we also need to cover how we're storing our chemicals in our cleaning and sanitizing supplies. And make sure that they're being stored in such a way that we prevent, obviously, contamination of any raw materials or any packaging materials, because the packaging materials, if they are contaminated, can obviously potentially contaminate your product as a whole. So we need to let people know how we're storing all of that stuff so it doesn't contaminate the actual formulating product raw materials or the packaging materials or your processing equipment. That's another one. How to ensure that everything is super clean. And sorry, I'm just going to mute my screen here because I just got an email and I'm binging away. So make sure that we have a list of all those agents that we use to clean everything from top to bottom, and where those chemicals are stored and how they are stored and what we have in place to prevent them coming into contact with any of our packaging or equipment or manufacturing raw items. We also need to have provisions for storing cleaned equipment so that it does not have the opportunity to become contaminated. So if you leave a beaker, let's say, on top of a workspace, it has the potential to collect dust, which is a contamination. And although we may not see that there's dust on it because it's microparticles, it still does have the opportunity to collect those microparticles. So we need to provide provisions for storing all of our cleaned and sanitized equipment in such a way that it cannot get contaminated. So stored in a sealed cabinet or in a Rubbermaid bin, maybe with a lid that seals it and ensures that nothing gets in or around it. Then we also need to provide a clear identifier for what dirty equipment and utensils are and what clean equipment and utensils are. So there has to be a delineating line explaining what we identify as one and how we identify that. Like maybe we immediately upon use take the dirty equipment over to a different section of our work area, you know, or maybe clean equipment and utensils never leave the cabinet or the Rubbermaid container until we're ready to use them. But all of these things need to be accounted for in your Good Manufacturing Practices Manual. Because nobody's going to be there watching you and seeing over your shoulder how you're doing this and if you're following these things. So we really need to draw out a picture in their head of our exact processes and what we are doing to ensure the quality and the cleanliness of our products. And then lastly in that list, we need to provide procedures for destruction and disposal of waste materials and debris. So how do we get rid of our empty containers from our butters? You know, how do we dispose of them? Do we recycle them? What is our scheduling for recycle? Is it once a week? Is it once a month? What does our garbage disposal schedule look like? Is it a weekly thing? Is it a daily thing that we dispose of it, that we take it out of our work area and remove it? Do we do that once a day? Do we do that once a week? And then of course, just, you know, what is the process behind it? So we take the garbage out, let's say, and then we immediately go in, clean our garbage can perhaps, and then put a new bag in it so that it's fresh for the next set of formulations. You know, and again, it seems like really simple everyday stuff. I know we're all doing these things already, but ultimately it's the recording of these things on paper that we provide to Health Canada that really gives them that if they read our manual, they should be able to close their eyes and picture any person operating through our processes and completing our steps, because that is how detailed we need to make it for them. Their entire goal is to ensure safety for Canadian consumers, and that should be our goal as well, and working as a team together with them to be able to 100% be positive that we are contributing to that. That's important and that's big, you know. And then lastly, there's one more note here. It's contain or ventilate dusty operations to prevent contaminations of other areas. So what are your processes for working with powders, basically? How do you contain the dust and the offshoot of the powders? What are you doing to prevent it? What are you doing to contain it? What are you doing to clean it afterwards? How are you ensuring that that dust from your powder, from your botanicals, whatever, or your mica colorant, or, you know, any number of powders you might work with, how are you ensuring that when you pour that in to your measuring thing and you're going to weigh it, that powder dust that goes up, what are we doing to make sure that it does not go on any of our other product and contaminate it? You know, like, I mean, there are ways of shielding it. I know for myself, and it seems like a really, you know, kind of a really basic way to prevent anything, but it's all in how you're wording things. So for myself, what I do is I actually have a plastic cutting board, and as I'm pouring my powder in, I kind of hold my cutting board here to shield where that powder dust is going to move to. And then as soon as I'm done measuring and weighing my powder, I take that cutting board and it goes into my sink and it waits to get sanitized in my dishwasher with the rest of my equipment. So that is recorded. Now, do I say, you know, in my processes and how I'm writing it out, oh, I hold my cutting board here and I, you know, shield it? No, I say that I provide adequate shielding to prevent the dust from moving to my raw materials. It's all about the wording. Like, I mean, and both ways are correct, right? Like, one is just more kind of every day, this is how we do it, and the other one is obviously written out in a more professional manner so that they can close their eyes and picture any, like, whatever shield they might be picturing. It's a plastic shield to prevent the dust from moving, and it works, you know. And it's these simple processes, and it is the wording of these simple processes that we need to focus on in our good manufacturing manuals. It's I know we're all doing, and I keep saying this because it's kind of mind blowing to me sometimes that we are required to write this all out like a Bible of how we do things, you know? And it's, on the one hand, it's kind of mind blowing because I know that we all take these steps already. I know we all ensure the safety and the quality and the cleanliness and all of these things, you know, but Health Canada doesn't know that because they don't know you from a hole in the ground, and they don't know who you are. They don't know what you're about. They don't know what drives you, what your motivating factors are. I know for a lot of us, the motivating factors are natural health, better wellness, daily use things that are going to enhance our wellness as opposed to detract from it. And so people that are built like that, you know, we generally are already ensuring these practices are in place. So I don't want you guys to get super overwhelmed by how detailed this has to be, because I promise you, you're doing these things already. And it's honestly just the next step is to record them all. And maybe an easy way to do that for yourself is just set up an iPad or a phone or a computer or any number of electronics and record yourself. Like, just set it up in the corner and record what you're doing throughout the day, and then take that video and go through it slowly and write down exactly what you're doing, every step, every process. And maybe that could help you to write out your good manufacturing practices and to really nail down on, you know, the exact steps, because I know there's so many steps involved in doing anything, even doing a Facebook Live. Like, let's talk about that for a minute, since that's where we're at right now. You know, like, I mean, in order to do a Facebook Live, you have to go on, you have to select, first you have to open your computer, then you have to open Facebook, then you have to go to the group that you want to share a live video in, then you have to go into create a post and select more, then you have to select live video, then you have to wait for the live video screen to open up. Then you have to set up your settings for the live video, the title, the description. Then you have to ensure that it's streaming at a high enough quality for it to go. So review your settings. Then you have to click the go live button. Then you have to wait for the countdown. And then you get a red button that says live and you start speaking. And then you do your Facebook Live, you go through those motions, and then when you're finished, you hit end live video. And then you have a screen that opens up and asks if you want to save your video. So it seems like a no-brainer, click the live and go live, but it's actually, you know, a breakdown of many little steps in between. And that exact process of breaking down the big step into the little steps, that's what good manufacturing practices manuals look like. That is the whole goal of them, is to really focus on the individual steps to achieve every single goal of your day. So hopefully this has been helpful. Hopefully you've learned a little bit. I did see your guys' comments and stuff yesterday about wanting those PDFs, and I will get them to you, but I won't be able to get them until next week, because as of right now, I'm tapping out for the weekend. My daughter is expecting her first baby, and we're doing a big gender reveal party this weekend, so I'm going to be a Baba for the first time. Super exciting news. And I'm going to be busy getting stuff ready for that. So I'm checking out for the weekend. But I promise you next week I will get those PDFs up and shared in the group for you. And as always, drop your comments down below, ask your questions. I do try to respond to every single question that is asked. And if I don't have an answer, I'll say straight up, I'm not entirely sure. Let me check with the person that I know who has that answer. And I will go out and research it and find the answer for you, or find somebody who can help you in that area if I cannot. So I hope you all have a fantabulous weekend, and we will chat again on Monday. Have a safe and wonderful weekend, guys. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.